that's for sure. Got music and movies, and friends and medicine. Yeah, is the show for me and you, the one you love to listen to. And ooh, you got your friends, see it through. See, 'cause laughter is medicine too. Said it's medicine too, babe.
You are tuned in to the Wendy Lovett Show with Topher Kogan, where we don't dispense medical advice and all of your health choices are your own. This is season 4, episode 1, and here's Topher.
Hello. Oh my gosh, season 4?
I know.
Who knew it would come so fast?
It really seems so fast. I was thinking about it. We're in season 4, and I wondered in the beginning, how long we were going to go, and here we are, still growing. It's fantastic.
And then to finish and start, to go through more than half of a season and now start another one, still in quarantine, still dealing with the virus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I've been home now, I don't know, 4.5 months, maybe more. I don't even know anymore.
Everything's weird. Everything, and even, and there are some people that have never stopped.
I know, there are. I mean, everyone is not in the same position, and we have to remember that, So, but here we are. We're going to keep going. We've got some new segments this season. You have your own segment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have a little chit-chatty segment with me.
I like it. Simple conversations with Topher. I love it.
Yes.
So that'll be interesting, talking to all different people about their perspectives on various things. And then Sunshine is continuing this season with her own segment, Sunshine in the Community, and that should be amazing too. So we're really packing the hour now, aren't we?
I mean, really, gosh, just because editing down my new segment, it was, I had to go through with like a fine-tooth comb and just like pull out some really good moments, but stuff that wouldn't fit because gotta cram it into that hour. Yeah,
so I think we can do it though. I believe in us, Topher.
I'm really happy with how that segment, but just how the whole show in general is going and shaping up and really, finding another tone and voice. So
absolutely, me too. So have you watched any new movies or TV shows?
Yes, I watched this movie called Palm Springs with Andy Samberg, and I forget her name, but I really like the actress.
That's unusual for you. Usually, you impress me with remembering who the actors were, who the producers are. It's impressive.
She is for people that watched How I Met Your Mother. She's the mother. She's the one that Ted ends up with. So it's her. But it's a Groundhog Day movie.
Yeah, I saw it advertised and thought about watching it, but I haven't yet. So what would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would give it I'd give it like a 7 and an 8. Okay. Like I tell people, go watch it, because it's a really, really cute rom-com. But it doesn't feel like a rom-com. It just for most of it, it feels like a buddy movie.
Oh, Oh,
So I
okay.
think that's why I liked it.
Mm-hmm. So rewatchability, because I know that gives more points with you. So would you say it's
Yeah.
something you could rewatch or?
No,
Yeah, yeah.
right now, no. But that's kind of like all movies, because I just don't. I don't know. I just can't muster up the energy to watch a lot of movies.
Well, another new thing with the show this season is we have a house band. Um,
Yes, we have finally ascended, Wendy, into
yes,
the late night and the talk show realm of officiality.
we have. We have. Even though we're from home, we figured out how to make it happen. And the
Yeah.
band is called the Buds, which they're all our buds. We guys, I love it. I
Yeah.
love just all the connotations of it, you know. And so we're going to add to the conversation Derek Wyan. He's been working on the show for quite a while. He was doing sound when we were in the studio, and he's a
Hmm.
musician. So let's add him to the conversation and talk about the buds. Well, welcome back to the show, Derek, we should say.
It's good to
Nice,
hear from y'all.
nice to see you. So we were just talking about how we've added a house band to the show, the Buds, which we love the name that you folks chose. So it's pretty exciting. How's it going over there with the music?
Honestly, it was a breeze. We thought it was going to be a little bit harder, you know, probably a long process. And we got together an afternoon, and we kind of expected to be there until like midnight, maybe,
Yeah.
and we knocked it out in about 2 hours. And
Wow.
so the creative process was very smooth. We just jumped into it and knocked it out, and I think it's going to turn out really great.
Awesome. And we love it. So Sarah Lothan is one of the members of the Buds. And of course, she's been on the show with Making Loaf. And I think also with PSS Trio. I feel like she's been on a few different times. Um, and then we have Mike Kinkle, who actually books for the show also. You folks are all really multi-talented. We love that. And then who did I forget? I forgot somebody. Tanner. So what kind of music can we expect? Is there any sort of genre to it, or?
We didn't stick to a specific genre. In fact, we actually used different genres for each segment.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Should I spoil it, or?
No, we'd love to.
Oh, well, they're about to see it, so no. I would say no.
Oh, all right. Well,
I want to be surprised.
We know it's different genre for each segment. So you want to be surprised, Topher?
Yeah, on the genres, like I want to be like, ooh, what did the Buds interpret like as a health song, as a, what's a good song to introduce music?
Yeah.
These are questions.
There you go. These are questions we have. Which genre? Well, it might be fun to have some kind of a contest to see if people can kind of guess the genre, because sometimes it's hard. People aren't sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That might be kind of fun.
Yeah, we got the health segment, we got Green Zone, we got music and arts, we got community and philosophy, and then of course the outro. So that's kind of like the mystery one, right?
Ooh,
Right.
yeah.
Oh, this is going to be lots of fun. Can't wait. So how have you been with the quarantine, and that you were on one of our quarantine shows last season? How's it been for you there?
Quarantine's been, obviously I miss going out and seeing friends and giving and receiving hugs.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I live with my band, so we get to create music, and we're actually, spoiler, or what is this? Not spoiler.
Like news alert or breaking news?
Teaser? Is it a teaser?
Teaser.
All right.
Okay.
But it's also, we haven't made it public yet, but the Candid, we're recording right now at the home, so.
Ooh, yes. The
Well,
exclusive scoop.
You know we love the candid, so that's exciting. So are you going to be coming out with an album, or are we not supposed to give any more teasing to this?
We're starting with the single, but
Mhm.
uh, the goal is for an album.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's been so great to see you and talk with you. We're really excited about the buds, um, and we'll see where that goes. I think people are really going to love it. People have been fans of the show for quite a while, so and the new
Mm-hmm.
people, everyone's going to love it.
It was
All
great
right.
seeing y'all, or talking.
Yeah,
Yeah, good
absolutely.
seeing you too, Derek. Miss you so much.
Yeah, I can't wait to get back in the studio.
I know I wonder when that's going to be. I'm a little, I'm a little. I thought it would be by now, but maybe that was optimistic. But when the time is right, we'll all be together again. Until then, we'll be together virtually. In today's episode, sponsored by Buffalo Co., 131 Inclusion Gallery, and Caris Healthcare, our guests are Dr. Brian Nichol, Tonya Sanders, Joelle Storey, Hannah Withers, and the Traveling Squirrels.
All right, let's get to it.
In our health segment today, I'll be chatting with a registered nurse, lupus warrior, talk show host, and survivor, Tonya Sanders. Welcome to the show, Tonya.
Hey, thanks for having me today, Wendy. I really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so delighted that you're here. I've watched your show on Facebook, and you're such an inspiration to so many people. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Um,
That means a lot.
yeah, so let's talk a little bit about your story. Um, so, when did this journey kind of start?
My journey started about 12 and a half years ago. Like she said, I was a registered nurse. I was very active. I'll put it in a nutshell, kind of. I got diagnosed with advanced lupus. I woke up one morning with jaw pain, did the doctor route, did everything they said for 8.5 years, was polypharmacy to basically almost death until about 3.5 years ago. And they sent me home. At 35 years old, they said there was nothing else left and they were going to send me to hospice.
35 years old, they're putting you on hospice. And how long ago was that?
About 3.5 years ago.
That was 3.5 years ago. You said that.
That's all right.
So 3.5 years ago, the mainstream medical community said, we've done all we can, and you're going to die, basically.
Yep.
So you're still here, and I'm really glad you're still here. But let's talk a little bit about that process, because I'm really familiar with that, having gone through some similar experiences with the health system. And so, what's it like when they look you in the eye and say, you're gonna die, and we're gonna put you onto hospice?
I looked at them like they were crazier in hell.
Mm-hmm.
And me being a nurse, I looked at them and I said to them, I've done everything that you guys have asked me to do.
Mm-hmm.
I've never abused anything. I've never taken more than anything. I've done 3 different kinds of chemos. I've done this and that, and I've been in the, it was a total mess.
Right.
For 8.5 years, and then you guys are just going to give up on me and just ship me out the door with nothing. They didn't even give me the option of cannabis. I had never tried it before in my life.
Right.
I had been researching it for 2 years prior to, but I was so scared. I'm from Ohio. The stigma in Ohio is horrible. I was scared that the cops were going to come. They were going to take my kids. I couldn't even talk about it. I couldn't do anything about it. So I just researched it really, really heavy in the closet about it.
Mm-hmm.
I never tried it until they sent me home and I started the weaning off process.
So it's not a first line option even now. That was 3.5 years ago. And it wasn't presented as an option at that time. And so, unfortunately, it ends up being sort of a last resort after
last choice.
They've tried everything else. And really, pretty much what they have is pills, tests, and surgery.
Yep.
Right? So you ended up in this polypharmacy state. And then in reading what happened with you, it looks to me like then other illnesses came out of that.
Yep, I would take pills for this, and then other symptoms would appear or side effects from the medication I was taking. and then it was just a huge cycle of things, I was taking steroids, and then my immune system would be crappy, and then I would get an infection, and then I would be in the hospital, and then I would be septic, and then it was just a huge cycle, kept going around and around. The more pills they gave me, the sicker I got, the sicker I got, the sicker I got.
Yes, it's a vicious cycle. Unfortunately, there's so many side effects and interactions, and they don't even know after 2 pills what the interactions are. So, as a registered nurse, did you see polypharmacy in your practice? Did you see patients who ended up on several pills and?
Yeah, but I didn't really understand what they were going through until I had to go through it myself. So
Mhm.
now that I went through it myself, I want to tell others, maybe they're being polypharmacy. Maybe they don't even know what that means,
Right,
taking multiple medications for multiple different things, you
right.
know, and they don't have to. And we talk about that a lot on my channel, talking to your doctor, being your own healthcare advocate, taking all your medicines, dumping them on the table, saying, why am I taking these? Why have I been on them for 10
Mhm.
years? When am I going to be able to get off of them? We do
Yeah.
a lot of that, try to educate on my channel a lot.
Right. That's excellent. People definitely need to see an alternative point of view because when
Absolutely.
they're only presented with those options, pills, tests, or surgery, they think that's all there is. So you're really doing quite a service.
And there's other kinds of doctors out there, and we talked about that too. There's not just regular MDs. There's naturopathic doctors.
Hmm.
A lot of people don't know the difference between a DO and an MD,
Hmm.
and the schooling that they have to go through, and the.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's definitely really important to get that information out there. And I know that you're doing that every week, talking with different people and putting that out there. And so I want to ask you about the tube that you have. You have an NG tube in.
Yep.
And what is that for? Why are you having that now?
Okay, so in January, I ended up having endocarditis, and I ended up having to have open heart surgery. I had to have my aorta replaced, my aortic root replaced, my mitral valve repaired, and then so now I also went into heart failure. And then since my surgery, my heart was under so much stress and stuff. I have another valve that needs replaced. So I'm getting prepped. I'm getting ready to go in for my second open heart in 6 months. So this is a feeding tube to get my nutrition up, because they're afraid that with my nutrition, because my stomach shut down for all last year. I
Mhm.
didn't eat anything all last year, and then that's what caused the endocarditis, was from the TPN that I was getting through my
Right.
port.
So you
So
still you still have lupus. You still have these issues that come up. So let's talk. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk a little more about cannabis, because you are still using the mainstream health system, the parts that you need,
yep,
but you found some other ways to work with your health and the symptoms that you have, and cannabis is one of them, isn't it?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Cannabis, I always say, is the glue that is holding me together. If it wasn't for cannabis, I would have been falling apart years ago. I wouldn't be here.
Hmm.
I would not be here still. It's the best medicine that I've ever taken in my entire life, and I can say that because I've taken about everything under the sun.
Right, right, right. Unfortunately, you have lots of experience with pharmaceuticals. And, the difference is with pharmaceuticals, it's treating symptoms, right? It's very symptom driven, which when you went to school as a nurse, was that kind of the path that you were taught?
Yep, that was exactly what I was taught. We didn't learn anything about the endocannabinoid system. We learned nothing about that. I had no idea about it.
Isn't it amazing? I know Dr. Uma, who I know you also know, she'll always say, how can they leave out a whole system out of your education? It makes no sense,
No,
really.
it does.
Because cannabis is what creates homeostasis.
Yes, absolutely.
So if you don't have that, then what?
No, it was
So how
taken
has
away from us.
cannabis helped your illness and everything that you're going through? How has it helped you?
Like you just said, I still do have lupus. I still have these other things that are popping up, these diseases and things. But the way I treat them is going to be with cannabis. I'm not going to take anything that's not necessary. I take some. I'm going to be on blood thinners because of my valves. I'm going
Hmm.
to have to be on those. But I
Right.
only take the necessary medications that I need. And cannabis has, it helps my nausea, it helps my pain, it helps anxiety, depression, inflammation. I can actually be a mom again. You know, I wasn't a mom for 8.5 years, and that's sad. That's so sad, you know?
Yeah.
People can get back to their lives and not suffer. You know what I mean? I'm not suffering. I'm not cured, but I'm not suffering, and I call that a win.
Oh, absolutely. You know, some illness we still will have to deal with, even though life has improved so much, right? But it's a totally different life.
Yeah, it is.
And your children, I'm sure, are really happy to have you being more present, being able to mother them. It's so
Yep.
important. I'm
Yep.
sorry that you missed part of that and everything that you went through. But
I don't
I
want
see
anybody
you.
else to do that. I want everybody to know that there's this option out there and not to be scared of it anymore. It's not a scary thing to feel better. You know, we've been taught, and you know, I was a dare kid, so I was afraid to death of cannabis, afraid to
Yeah.
death.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been the best thing that's happened to me. It's given me my life back. I'm still here.
Yes, you're still here and you're a warrior, you know. It's
You are too.
it's not just that you're still here, you're really present and really interested in helping others. And
Absolutely.
I love that.
Well, thank you.
Because you have a unique perspective. You went to nursing school, you understand how the body works, and you've gone through this such a traumatic series of events, you know.
And I want to tell the truth. You know, I'm not. That's why I take everybody on the journey with me, with everything that I go through, every hospital stay that I go to now, every surgery. I take everybody with me because I want them to see just how good I can do. You know, the day after my surgery, I was up walking right after heart surgery. I
Yeah.
mean, the doctors were blown away, the nurses were blown away. I'm like, I gotta, you know, I'm good. I'm
Yeah,
good.
it's so great. So what happens when you go into the hospital with the cannabis that you use regularly? I see you already responding. um, it's so challenging, isn't it?
There's no challenge here. Ohio, if I would go in with any kind of cannabis on me into, you know, our hospitals, I would probably be arrested.
Hmm.
Still to this day, even though I'm a patient, even though I'm a card holder, you know, it's my medicine, you know, I would probably still be arrested.
Hmm. Right, and so that's a big problem for
Yes,
patients.
yes.
So the things that you're using the cannabis for are still an issue when you go into the hospital. So do you have to take other pharmaceuticals while you're in there to kind of get through?
Yep, they have to give me. I have to use what they have, what they allow me to use as their synthetic drugs that they give me. You know, that don't work worth a shit, basically, because they've ruined me. They've ruined my entire system, and then I have to go back and try to take these medicines that they ruined me with. When cannabis is what I need. They need educated. Hospitals need educated. Doctors need educated. Nurses. You should be able to use this in the hospital. You know what I
Right.
mean? It has never killed anyone, and but yet they're gonna come in and give me Tylenol, which kills how many a day?
Oh yeah. Hmm. And how many people die from pharmaceutical overload every day? I forget the number. It's a huge number.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. And so you go into the hospital, and you have to use their medicine, and then I imagine when you get out, you have a transition process. You know, it's hard.
Yep, it is hard. But I'm like, as soon as I get home, I go straight back to my cannabis. I don't want anything to do with like I mean, I only take what's necessary and what I have to, and then I come straight back to my cannabis.
Yeah, it's amazing that when you're going through a serious illness and you end up on pain uh, drugs, how then you suddenly become questionable over time as are you taking too much? I heard you say I only take what they're prescribed. That's true for really most patients. And yet you start to get treated like a criminal, you know, where they're having you pee in a cup to see how much you have in your system. And it that all of it makes no sense. There's so much criminalization in our society.
Yep. We're legal, but we're not really legal at all.
So many changes need to happen. What do you think about a hospital that actually is a cannabis friendly hospital? I've been thinking about this for a while.
Oh my gosh, it would be heaven. It would be heaven.
We used to
Sign
talk
me up.
about, I used to work in nursing homes as a therapist, and we used to talk about cannabis friendly nursing homes. later after I started using cannabis. Why are elderly patients excluded from the cannabis program when it can help so many things instead of all the pills that they're on?
And I think actually, isn't it like seniors is the rising? I mean, their numbers are rising in seniors using cannabis.
Hmm.
So
I
that's a
think it's
great.
the largest group that's increasing actually is people over 65.
Awesome.
And that's been going on for a while, I believe. I don't have any statistics to quote, but,
Give them
but
their life back, for a little bit. Let them enjoy their life again.
right, stimulates appetite for people who have trouble with that. It can help with Alzheimer's. There's so many things that it's good for, and it's
And
not for every person. But I think that it should be a first line choice. Like we were saying earlier, if it could be on the list in the first place, then maybe people wouldn't have to go through the things that like what you went through.
yep, they're definitely offered up front.
Yes, offer it up front. But it would be very cool if we could have facilities that were cannabis medicine friendly.
That's my
But
dream. That would be a dream. You know what I mean?
yeah, let's see if we can get Dr. Uma on board.
Yes, Dr. Let's do this.
I know, right? Um, so you're scheduled for another surgery, and I'm sure you'll go through it with the same kind of passion and grace you've gone through all these things with. What are your hopes for the future?
My hopes for the future.
Medically, do you think about the future, or are you someone who stays in the moment each day?
No, I think about the future a lot. I would just want them to go in and fix me. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. None of us do.
Hmm.
And I'm one of those people that, live hard and love hard each day because I have been so crappy in the past before and it changes in a second. You know what I mean? I can go from great to almost on death's door in a second. You know what I mean? So I do love hard and live hard. I want to see my girls graduate and get married, and
Yeah.
I want to just feel better. Right now I'm suffering. And I looked at my doctor last week, my surgeon, and I said, this is really suffering. And he's like, Tonya, I know. And
Yeah.
he's like, I know. He's like, just let me get you prepared a little bit more because it's only been 6 months. He said, I'm sorry that you have to do this, but, I just want to feel better. I just want to be able to live okay.
Right, absolutely. I think I think it's hard to plan when you're not sure what could happen with your body. But what I see of you when I see you each week on Facebook with your show, it seems like maybe that's sort of an anchor that kind of keeps you going.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The more you connect with others and talk with others and help them, I find the same thing. It helps me if I have a period of illness, knowing that some people really need that inspiration and want to see it. I'll push myself. I don't know. Do you feel that way too?
Yeah, me too, definitely. I always push myself, always, because I know there's maybe someone out there listening that maybe I can maybe impact their life a little bit. You know what I mean? Maybe there's that one person that's just going to hear me and I'm going to make that difference for them.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, this has been a great interview. How can people get in touch with you?
Um, Anybody can reach me on Facebook on under Tonya Sand, or I have another Facebook page that I do my Zoom rooms 3 times a week. It's my pain, my battle, my story, and then like I said, I do Zoom rooms Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays is Ladies' Night.
Nice.
We're with the Walk for Change, so if anybody wants to join us on Zoom, we would love for you to join us on Zoom, Wendy, whenever you have a chance.
Oh,
Come
yeah. I
come
would
in
love to do
Ladies'
that.
Night and chat bullshit with us and have a great time. We have fun. We do games and talk about suppositories. I mean, we talk about everything. Nothing's off limits. So
That's good. It's good to let people speak freely about the things they're concerned about, their bodies, their emotions, whatever it happens to be. So thank you so much for providing that for people, and thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Sunshine here, and I am in a very empty Maxine's, and as you can see, I've got Hannah Withers with me, and we are going to talk to you about businesses in the time of COVID. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Hannah Withers. She is the owner of Leverett Lounge. She's the caretaker of Maxine's Tap Room, and she also is a part of a bunch of things that are going on that are handling all of the problems that we're dealing with currently, trying to deal with small business in this particular time that we're in. Now, there's a couple of boards that she's on, and because I don't want to mess anything up, I would like for you to tell me, first of all, the Fayetteville Independent Restaurant Alliance.
Yep.
Okay.
FIRA is
I like that.
an organization that Reese Roberts out of Bordino's began as businesses were starting to close in March, and she saw a need for an organization that can help restaurant people. So I wish I knew the numbers on this. Reese is really the brainchild behind it, but I give her a couple good ideas every once in a while. Also with Elliot Hunt from Atlas and
Yes.
Chrissy Sanderson from Mockingbird Kitchen.
Yes.
And Reese has done an amazing job. She's taken in a ton of donations from our community. Also applied for some grants, some national and some state grants. I think we've been able to at least put out $30,000 back into restaurant employees who are either behind on rent, need help with health insurance. We've helped people with grocery bills and gas bills, utilities. It's a really simple grant process, and we've been able to help a lot of people from a lot of different kinds of restaurants in Fayetteville.
That is amazing, because as we all know, restaurant work is day to day. And I mean, I worked in restaurants for 15 years, and it was one of those things where I was like, oh, I'll make more money tomorrow, you know? And I was young, and I wasn't thinking about my future. And some people, it isn't even like that. It's just like, you know, you make the amount of money that you need to pay your bills and feed yourself and your kids and get some gas, and you do the thing, and then
Maybe take a quick vacation.
right,
cheap,
maybe
if you're lucky,
you know,
or you
right,
might put that on a credit card.
right,
Yeah.
you know, maybe you go to Branson. I don't know, not me personally,
Yeah.
but you know, there's an ask for receipt. So, also, you're on a board that is part of the city of Fayetteville.
The city, Devin Howland, who's our economic director, I'm not sure what his official title is, but he's sort of our economic development director at the city, has put together a task force of some brilliant attorneys and startup junkie folks and people from the chamber and a couple of small business owners also to talk about what's happening. We've been meeting once a week since the middle of March, and
This is a COVID task force,
this
right?
is the COVID task force. This is looking at there are grant programs in Seattle that in April that were able to help with some small businesses. You know, there are cities all over the country that are doing things because they don't want to lose their small business culture, and so it's sort of a dry erase board meeting of what the issues are. You know, it's easier for them, I think, to take the pulse of small business owners and understand what's happening with their landlords and their lease contracts, or, you know, what restaurants are really doing in sales compared to what they were 5 months ago. And I think Bo Counts from Pinpoint and I are sort of the token business owners that are on that board that are full of ideas and sometimes tears and all kinds of other things.
I can only imagine. Now, I don't know if all of you are aware of all of the stuff that Hannah does inside and outside of her businesses, and also inside and outside of this pandemic. But she's also, one of the things that her restaurant Leverett Lounge has been doing is something called Feed the Herd, which twice a week she feeds, I don't know the numbers. I know that it is something that has fed many people who have not been able to either get some of the grant money that you've been able to procure, some people who've needed that and also can't afford to go and get food, can't afford to feed their families. And so Feed the Herd is something that I think that's part of, is that part of Fayetteville Independent Restaurant Alliance? And also
we've teamed with Fayetteville, when you apply for a grant at FIRA, then you can also check a box for food insecurity. We've been supplying grocery boxes to people that applied to also pick up meals. So it started when our both of our businesses closed. We closed for 4 or 5 days before the state asked us to. We have a lot of people that are friends of ours and restaurant people that live all over the country, so we were watching what was happening in Seattle and New York and San Francisco, and they were sending us messages saying, whatever $1,000 you're going to make tomorrow night is not worth it, and you should probably shut it down.
Yes.
So we did, and we also had a whole walk-in full of food that we had to deal with, and we decided to start feeding our staff. And in true restaurant industry person of not knowing what to do, we just sort of went to work and started cooking and staying busy. So we asked our community for donations, and people bought subscriptions to donate meals for people that were unemployed that were in our industry. We eventually opened that up to people outside of the restaurant industry. There were a lot of people that are contract workers and 1099 workers or self-employed workers that weren't allowed to that didn't qualify for the state unemployment, and they were applying for something called PUA, which had a lot of problems and took a really long time to get there. And for a lot of people, it never got there, and a lot of people didn't eventually qualify for that. And so it's sort of been a sense of normalcy for us. We feed anywhere from 100 to 130 people a night. We go up and prep. Within that sort of equation of feeding people, we've had friends who have an abundance of cucumbers in their gardens that will bring us 40 pounds. And
what she's trying to say, you all, is that the community has come together to make sure that their community isn't hungry. And anything extra, anything that they could do, people who weren't put in a pinch were helped by this amazing woman and her industrious brain and the people that she's put together to make this happen, myself included, as far as being part of the herd and being part of my small business did not receive any funding, and she got me on board. Now this is something, as much as what I want to do is concentrate on how amazing you are, because I think that because I could go on and on. So if you could break it down to the basic math that I don't think everybody completely understands. If you own a small restaurant, and what's the math behind making a profit or at least breaking even? How do you come up with that?
It's different for every type of restaurant. It's going to vary depending on your product and what you pay your employees, which we try and do well. It's a little bit different for everybody, but for a real simplistic breakdown, give or take for anybody, I'd say 25% is rent and utilities. We have 25% for taxes, payroll taxes, liability, insurance, those sorts of boring, not fun things. We've got 25% of cost of goods sold, which is the cost of my spirit, the cost of my steak, whatever it is that I'm selling you, cheeseburger, whatever you want it to be. Are you hungry?
I'm very hungry.
It can be whatever you want it to be. The other 25%, we usually use that sort of for an emergency fund. We can fix our broken air conditioning unit, which could be $10,000 if we need a new one. It could be, we need a new roof, or we have to recover our booths, or sort of maintenance sort of stuff. And if there's anything left out of that 25% that is typically how I get paid.
Then you get to go to Colorado.
Oh, maybe.
Right.
Or pay my mortgage.
Right.
Yeah. Or give out bonuses if our employees have earned them, or whatever that extra is, and it might not always be us. But
yes. What I think is interesting, and what I don't think people really understood, is when someone is asked to run a business like that at 33% capacity, that math that you just told me is at full capacity.
Yeah.
So it's not virtually impossible, it's actually impossible
our rent would have to
pay for just the roof over your head.
Our rent would have to come down considerably.
Yeah.
My electric bill at Maxine's while we're closed is $600 a month.
$600 a month for us to sit here while it's closed, as you guys can see.
Yeah.
This is the one thing that I want to hammer home, everyone. And the one thing that Hannah said I don't know, 4 months ago when this first started, someone brought up on Facebook, like, what do you think about opening your restaurant at 33%? And she said, if I could run a business at 33%, that's how I would have started it. She wouldn't, why make more work for yourself if you don't have to? But you have to work a certain amount to be able to pay for what it is that you do. Hannah, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
I hope to have you back on here sometime during this season, and we can kind of check in and see what's going on with Fayetteville and COVID and everything in the world.
When you have a good solid 7 hours, we can sit down and talk about this all day long.
We'll really get serious.
I've got lots of thoughts.
I know. I love her so much. I hope everyone is taking good care of yourselves, and now we all get to wear a mask wherever we go. Make sure that you are following on Instagram and Facebook, Maxine's Tap Room and Leverett Lounge, and I'll make sure that everybody knows all the things and all the stuff about how amazing you are. Thank you so much, Hannah Withers. We love you and appreciate you.
Thank you. Cheers.
We will be talking with Dr. Brian Nichol.
Yes, out of North Little Rock.
Yes, and he sent us some medicine, some CBG,
Yes.
and some CBD, and he titrated in the dosage in these syringes,
Yeah.
and then asked us to take it 45 minutes before we interview him.
Yeah, to see what goes on with us, to see how we feel.
Yes.
If any of our symptoms prior dissipate,
Yes.
or
So I have some pretty significant back pain right now, especially on the left side, and a little bit of neck pain, some anxiety. I know, how are you feeling?
1.5 day old knee pain that I got on this knee. So I'll be looking at that. I have a little bit of like a sinusy thing. I want to see if that touches it.
Let's
or
see
not.
what happens. I brought these little napkins in case we spill.
Oh.
I like it that, he's very scientific about this,
there
and
you go.
dosing and education.
Yeah.
We're going to learn all about that when we talk to him. But
So
all right,
just
so you just,
under the tongue, or
I'm going to
just
put it under my tongue
okay?
because it's usually a little quicker.
Okay. I love that.
I like the earthiness of it.
Yeah.
And so now I'm going to take the CBD also. And we're going to talk about these cannabinoids when we interview him too.
Yes.
So-
Got to get your cannabinoid knowledge up.
You do. So we will see you in about 45 minutes,
Yes.
and we'll see how we're doing.
Yes.
And we are in the green zone. Today, our guest is Dr. Brian Nichol. Dr. Nichol is a board-certified anesthesiologist who has been practicing chronic pain management for more than 2 decades here in Arkansas. Welcome to the show, Dr. Nichol. I see you, 2 decades. It sounds really daunting.
Well, time goes by fast, Wendy. The older I get, the faster it goes. That's for sure.
It's true. I can attest to that as well. Well, we're delighted that you're here today. And so you were a practicing anesthesiologist. And how did you get into cannabis medicine?
Well, I tell you, Wendy, when I was in the operating rooms and labor delivery and intensive care units, pain management was a little bit of a sideline. I found I had a knack for it and did enjoy it, so I started doing pain management full time. We do prescribe a lot of opiates towards our chronic pain patients. It's a mainstay of the profession. I came under regulations where I had to do drug screens on my patients. Now, I started noticing quite a bit of THC popping up on certain patients, and I knew that it really wasn't going to hurt them. I spoke to them a little bit about it. They mentioned how it helped them maybe just relax so they didn't notice their pain as much. So for a number of years, Wendy, I just kind of looked the other way on it. I didn't penalize them for it. I allowed them to use it. And after a number of years, I started to realize, my patients that were showing up positive for THC, they were not my problem patients. They weren't the patients that needed dose escalations in their narcotics, something for depression, anxiety, muscle spasms, sleep, and then something to fight off the side effects of the first medication I gave them. They did a lot better with less. And that's when I became interested in cannabis as a medication.
Right. So that is really interesting. So not a lot of pain doctors wouldn't have done that. And so I appreciate that you kind of gave it a chance and that you started to scientifically kind of look at it. You're kind of seeing how is this working for these patients and how is it different than the ones that aren't using it. So thank you for that. And so it's interesting, the medicine really helps so many different ailments, doesn't it?
It does, and that's something that I have patients occasionally ask me how it can work for so many different things. But it's more of my colleagues that are a bit dubious about cannabis as a medication, and that's most of them actually. When I was in school, they taught us absolutely nothing about cannabis as a medication. Of course, then they didn't even know there was an endocannabinoid system. The curriculum hasn't changed since I went to school, unfortunately. My colleagues will ask me, anxiety works for muscle spasms, for pain, for inflammation, for sleep. That's crazy talk. One medication can't do it. Well, it is due to the endocannabinoid system, of course. For people who aren't familiar with it, your body makes its own cannabinoids called endocannabinoids. They're used as neurotransmitters. Excuse the hand puppets here, but one nerve will make the endocannabinoid, goes across the small space between the nerve cells, and it binds to a receptor on the other nerve cell membrane. Receptor is a big chemical group. And when that endocannabinoid fits in there just right, it activates this receptor and causes this other nerve to do something different, changes its behavior, and that's how nerves communicate with each other. Now, these endocannabinoid receptors are ubiquitous. They're throughout all of your body tissues. They vary in which ones are where and receptor density and so forth, but they're present everywhere throughout the body with one exception, and that is the brainstem of your brain. I always like to tell my patients God was very kind to us. He left endocannabinoid receptors absent off the brainstem, and that's the reason you don't overdose and die from cannabis. Everybody seems to know that. With these endocannabinoid receptors all throughout the body, and the endocannabinoid system it doesn't do one thing, Wendy. It is a homeostatic mechanism. It coordinates the activity of all the other systems in your body to keep you tuned up optimally for survival of the organism. You're just trying to live another minute or another day. All the different systems of the endocannabinoid system coordinates include thermoregulation, glucose metabolism, lipid metabolism, pain, inflammation, movement, mood, sleep, you name it, the endocannabinoid system. It's got a little tentacle in there somewhere modulating it. So you can
It's
see.
amazing. And more amazing to me is that they don't teach about it. They don't teach health professionals about it. Doctors, nurses, therapists, anyone. I mean, I went to school to be an occupational therapist many years ago and worked for 25 years. I didn't know anything about it,
And I don't anticipate a whole lot of that changing. All the education I've done, I've had to do on my own. And as you know from reading the literature, you have to sort through a lot of stuff to find out what's really going on with cannabis. And a lot of doctors also aren't comfortable with making their own perspective on how to use it, because medical cannabis is very much the practice of medicine. I've learned more from my patients over the years than I can ever teach them.
Yeah. So you sent Topher and I some CBG and some CBD. And I want to talk about that because we've talked about the system, but now let's talk a little bit about cannabinoids and what those letters all mean and why the CBG, I guess.
Well, CBG, it's interesting. It's a rare cannabinoid. Most cannabis species produce almost none of it. When I used to see, I'd look at extended cannabinoidal analysis on strains produced. I'd see 0.2% CBG show up, and I was very excited. That was a whole lot of CBG. Originally, when I was reading Dr. Russo's papers about CBG, he was talking about what a potent anti-inflammatory cannabinoid it was. And I've got patients with psoriatic arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, multiple sclerosis, terrible inflammatory conditions. So I was very interested in seeing about obtaining some of this CBG. But, it's rare. It's not present in most strains. Well, in Dr. Russo's article, he happened to mention that there was this one strain that is a genetic mutant, blah, 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 blah. All it produces is CBG, and it produces it in copious amounts. I was finally able to locate some, and I had 14.1% CBG available to me. Couldn't wait to start trying it out on patients.
We were really excited to receive the medicine and give it a try and see.
And I'm excited to hear how you guys did, because this is my favorite part. It's like the reveal of a magician here.
So great to have a doctor who really understands the medicine. It's hard to come by in many locations, especially when the programs are new. So the fact that you took all this time to really educate yourself and help people understand the medicine better so that they can use it and make it work for them is amazing. So beforehand, by the end of the day, I have pretty significant SI joint pain, and it was about a 6, really. And so that was about 45 minutes ago, maybe a little longer. And now I would say it's about a 2, maybe even less. It's barely noticeable, like I'm moving my hips. And then I was also pretty anxious. So I had decided that I didn't want to take the full, smoke a joint or use any other medicine. I want to see really how this worked. And that's one thing that can be an issue for me is the anxiety. I have PTSD and anxiety. So it kind of just kind of brought it down without the THC.
Well, you'll find the combination of CBG and CBD are particularly effective for anxiety, particularly the CBD component, because it works on the same 2 targets in the brain that typical pharmaceuticals we prescribe, the benzodiazepines like Xanax and Valium, and the SSRI antidepressants work on. So that's why you're seeing a big improvement in anxiety is because of the CBD component of that. I will say CBG isn't as well studied. I have seen reports about it relieving anxiety, but it wasn't until my patients started reporting back the exquisite results with it that I noticed it's very useful for anxiety also. And I incorporate CBG as well as CBD into my regimen for a lot of my PTSD patients.
Topher, how did you do?
My knee is doing a little better. So I can't remember if we talked about the pain we had before. So I had a little bit of knee pain, and then I had some muscle soreness. I don't really know how lactic acid works, so it may be from that. I don't really know fully what that means. So I would have to say, even though it's a little sore, if you twist to places where you would be able to tell if it's sore, the resting is not even there, and even when I can tell it's there, it's just a 1. So yeah, it seemed to do really good.
And you said you were feeling kind of anxious too, all over the place. Did it even that out?
Oh yeah. I think it did. It definitely brought me out of that little tail end of the high. So that was really nice that it can be, it seems to be able to, if you take it after, other THC heavy medicine, it's a nice transitional into, no pain and just, relaxing. So.
Mm-hmm. Topher and I decided this was such a broad topic. We want to do a Wendy Levitt show with Topher Kogan Extra with you again, so people can look for that in the next couple of weeks. And
I look forward to it very much. Patient education is key to getting the best results you can from medical cannabis. With the lack of knowledge in a lot of the medical community and the prejudices that exist against medical cannabis, it's incumbent on the patients to really understand what they're doing as a medication.
Well, thank you so much for that. And I hope that people will really start to understand how they can really make it work for them even better. Where can people get in touch with you?
I do have a website available. It's at Cannabis Expert MD. That is all one word, cannabisexpertmd.com. My office website is arcannabisdoctor, DOCTOR.com. My email address is arkansascannabisdoctor@gmail.com. Just started a little YouTube channel up. And what else have I missed here, Sam? Oh, I got a Facebook page. What was I thinking? Of course, Cannabis Expert MD, all of one word on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter also.
Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much for having me, Wendy.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to a new segment for the Wendy Love Ed Show with Topher Kogan. What are we going to call it? We don't really know yet. And so the first guest that we have is Joelle Stoye. Hey, Joelle, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I've been weirdly more and more like avoiding mirrors just because without having to get ready, like it just becomes like a disaster over here. And that's kind of what I want to talk about. Not so much getting ready, but just faces and how they're like weird and cool and so unique and different. So you have a really extraordinary way that you were introduced to faces, I guess.
Well, I think it's very ironic that you're asking me on Zoom to talk about FaceTime. But it's absolutely important. In addition to taking care of mental health, starting to highlight the technological advances that we have to communicate with each other during these difficult situations, and having patients being able to communicate with families directly over the phone. I'm not saying it's the best way, but there are people who've had to deal with handling deaths in the family via FaceTime just by looking at each other face to face. And so I feel like that's very important to really understand is how much people are starting to realize not only has this period taught us about a virus and social distancing, but it's starting to help us discover the beauty of being intimate and having somebody close to you. Like that gesture in your eye, it just says so much, especially since people have been alone for so long. And I hear this from people who tell me this. And so, I'm so glad that you're bringing up that point, about face. And I feel like I'm able to revisit this as an artist because doing caricatures of people is what I like to do most. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of you making portraits and you drawing faces, there was a party that we were at, had the wall where people could just doodle on it. And then I was just watching you, and I swear it felt like 2 seconds went by and you just like picked out like a face and then just did it to a face. I can't even say you sketched it because it was just like a finished thing. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I want to know just a little sneak peek into your process of just how you see faces, how you break down a face.
I'm a big fan of math. I love math. Oh my gosh, like not just math, but just depth perception and just measurements. And it's just things that can be, visually translated as opposed to verbally, as you can say. I'm a very visual person. And so to me, looking at faces has been something I've been trained since I was a child, just reading comic books. A lot of the comic books I read growing up, like Tintin and Asterix, a lot of those implemented like pop cultural references that were drawn in caricatures. And that's something I just grew up to really appreciate and love. And at the same time, I've traveled in a lot of places. I was able to meet people from all walks of life. And I remembered them not just by their memories, but how they looked. And, I've heard, people say, oh, you're really good at this stuff. I was like, I know, but it's like, I never like, in a way, I've used it for myself as a kid, not for the best reasons, but, the one time where I was like, okay, maybe I could go with this somewhere was just back in college. And I was at a bar in Fayetteville, and there was I saw a hit and run. Like I got out of my car and there was a hit and run, and it was probably like 10 p.m. And it was just in downtown Dixon Street, and it was pitch dark, but there was one light out the window, and I actually jumped in front of the car because she saw me run after it. It was stupid at the time, but I did run after the car, and I said, hey, you just hit this car. Like, and the lady was so drunk, she actually got out of the car. I can't see her face very well, so I kind of like she started talking at me and yelling at me, and I'm kind of like, I'm gonna talk to her and slowly drag her under the lamp in the parking lot. And this was before there was paid parking on Dixon Street, and And I saw her whole face was just loud and clear. She was talking at me, and I'm like looking at her face, and I go inside the bar, and I tell them, call the police. There's a drunk driver out there who just hit somebody's car, and it was just, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about it is just, I remember it because I was, the woman came inside the bar and was trying to start a fight with me, and I was like, I was hiding, because I was drawing. I was drawing.
Oh, well, yeah. You had to get the police sketch ready.
Well, I didn't know the cops were coming.
Yeah.
So I was drawing her to hand it out to the bartenders. And I drew her out and I gave it to the bartenders. Then the cops came and I was like, hey, we want to know, hey, did you see this accident and everything? Is like, yes, I did. I'm sorry. She looked like, I was describing her physically, and it was very close. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, wait, I don't know if this can help, but I have like a drawing of her. And the cops were like, actually, that would be great. And I gave it to them. And they were like, wow, that's really good. And she got arrested for DUI the next day.
That is some vigilante type Batman level. That is amazing.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. So.
Oh my goodness. And have authorities ever approached you again to be like, hey, can you come in and like be this person?
No.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was maybe a fortunate occurrence, but I definitely wouldn't have used that to my advantage just because, like I said, some people don't like to have images of us drawn out or portrayed. And, somebody could look back and say, hey, that was me then. I'm not that same person. So.
Oh, I did not think about it like that.
Yeah.
Do you revisit faces that aren't self-portraits or?
Yeah. Actually, it's every day in my life, every day. Now painting portraits is a little more difficult because people are wearing face masks, but you can still recognize them. I love looking at people and being like, oh, that's your mom's eyes. I love seeing parents in people's faces. When I see somebody's face, I don't see you. I see you first, but then I see your mom, your dad, your grandparents. It's all of your genetic makeup has a history. And so to me, that's just fascinating.
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of beautiful. It's like your family story is like walking around on you. Yeah. Well, I think that's it. Which is kind of like the bittersweet thing of these is that they're very short and they're very, just bite-sized.
Skyrim.
Oh no, we didn't talk about Skyrim. So you had mentioned what Noon Root? Is that the Skyrim thing?
Yes.
Okay, so afterwards I was thinking about it and I was like, so if you add Noon Root to like say like a stew, would the stew give you powers or would it just make the stew like extra like good?
Right now, if like my boyfriend had a cough, I would give him crimson Noon Roots to stop,
Oh, okay.
So it would be, if I lived in Arkansas, it would be like aloe vera mixed with, I don't know, ginger and garlic and all that stuff. I mean, anything that helps against allergies in Arkansas would be great.
Oh, okay, got it. Nice. Well, thank you, Joelle Stroy, for being the first guest on whatever I'm going to call this, Little Philosophies, maybe. What's your social media if you want people to check you out?
Well, you can go to Harps. I'm also in the meat aisle. You can check me out there. I'm just kidding.
Goodness.
No, yeah, I'm active on social media. You can find me on Instagram or Facebook. I have a few websites you can find me on. I'm also a represented artist with Art Ventures NWA. I highly recommend checking them out if you want to find out more about my work and what I do. Aside from that, it's been really a pleasure to be on this show. Right on.
I'll just say I look forward to many more conversations.
In our musical segment, sponsored by 131 Inclusion Gallery, we are premiering a music video and song by none other than the Traveling Squirrels called Troubadour. You can also catch them live on Facebook, July 23rd from George's Majestic Lounge at 7:30 Central.
Oh, what a great show it's been.
What an amazing show it's been.
What a great start to season 4. We're off and running. And
Yeah.
I loved doing the new opener with you, Topher. That was so much fun. And with everybody kind of sending their videos, we pulled it together. Oh, so much fun.
Yes, thank you for teaching me how to tap dance. I think I can go tear up the stage.
You're a great student. And what a fantastic song that Will Brand did for season 4. We love that too.
It was so much fun filming the intro, you know, the dancing and, you know, the smoking. That was fun.
I think everybody had fun. We love it. It just, this community and creation of this show is so wonderful. And it was great collecting the videos and fun to create.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be able to do the show without our amazing sponsors. And one of those sponsors that I want people to remember is from Buffalo Co. We have an offer code still active for 20% off. Offer code LOVE, LOVE. And yeah, the website is getbuffaloco.com.
Yeah, thanks for reminding everyone. So let's list off our sponsors now. So one of the new ones is Alice CBD.
There's also Cares Healthcare.
And as you mentioned, Buffalo Co.
131 Inclusion Gallery.
That's another new one, and they also sponsor the music segment, so we love what they're doing. Purely Natural CBD.
Highlands Residential Mortgage.
Lit Smoking Supplies.
NWA Natural Living.
And Back to Balance Wellness and Massage. Well, he's been Topher.
And she's been Wendy.
Have a great week, everyone. Bye.
Bye.